Alright, so if you're watching this, it is the 2-year birthday of the Nintendo Switch. And kind of hard to believe it's been 2 years already, because I remember being in line at Target at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning to get this. But yeah, and it's really weird. 2017 was the launch year, obviously, and it turned into a really good year. And 2018 was also a good year, but it was clearly a holdover year. What does that mean? 2017, Nintendo basically put out a big first-party title every single month. There was a big game every month because, what was it? It came out with Breath of the Wild, and that held you over when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out. And then in June was ARMS. In July, I'm pretty sure it was Splatoon 2. August was Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. And then, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know Mario Odyssey was in the holidays. They had Doom. They had Xenoblade Chronicles in December. So they had a big release every month. And then when 2018 rolls around, it all slowed down. Now, it's not in the sense that we weren't getting games. We were getting games, but 2018 was ports galore because Nintendo blew their load in the beginning of 2017 to get the Switch into your house. It worked. I have a Switch. It's in my house. So that works. And 2018 was all about them reselling you games that they sold you on the Wii U, because the Wii U, despite being a good console, sold like shit, and Nintendo put out a lot of quality games on the Wii U that nobody bought. So they just mined the shit out of the Wii U and put everything on there. So like some of the ports they included were Wolfenstein 2, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dark Souls, and there's Okami, Bayonetta, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. These are all ports. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Hyrule Warriors, Assassin's Creed Odyssey in Japan only, it's a streamed game. Rayman Legends, that's a Wii U game as well. Both South Park The Fractured But Whole and South Park The Stick of Truth. Crash Bandicoot The Insane Trilogy. Phantasy Star Online 2 in Japan. Shining Resonance, and now they're getting all the Final Fantasy games. So it was ports fucking galore. Not to say there weren't exclusives, because there was, Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, Octopath Traveler, Kirby Star Allies, Mario Aces Tennis, Super Mario Party. The biggest AAA game that came to the Switch was Smash Bros. Ultimate, which didn't come out until December. So for the majority of the year, the Switch was lacking exclusive big name content, but they made up for it with quantity and quality ports. So it went unnoticed by a lot of the more casual consumers that have been adopting the Switch. Because if you look at the sales numbers of the Switch right now, it's around 33 million, which is very impressive when compared to the Xbox One in particular, which I think Microsoft stopped releasing the sales figures for that, but I think it was around 44 million last reported. So the Switch in 2 years has caught up significantly to where the Xbox is. And it's gotten to the point where Sony has out loud said they're not concerned with the Xbox as much as they are with the Switch. So that's a huge turnaround from where Nintendo was only 2 years ago, where people basically still associated them with childish, gimmicky shit. 2018 also pretty much marked the death of the 3DS. It was originally unclear how the Switch and the 3DS would coexist, since they could both pretty much do the same thing. And obviously a company having two competing products in the same market doesn't go well, so logically the 3DS had to go. And in 2017, there were still 3DS games coming out, but this was mostly because the Switch hadn't yet established itself. Then in 2018, the amount of games coming to the 3DS was pretty much cut in half. In fact, I remember watching a Nintendo Direct in March of 2018, and I was wondering why they were even still bothering with 3DS games at that point. But now if you look at 2019, there's almost nothing. In fact, Nintendo is only releasing ports from older consoles like the Wii, and that's pretty much it. So the 3DS is essentially in the same grave as the Wii U. They both have been succeeded by the Switch, which I think is a good thing, because the 3DS had so many exclusive developers on it, and now those developers can move on and put out higher quality games with more capable hardware. And those games can now be shared to the home console gamer who may not have owned a 3DS, or someone who just enjoys their games on TVs instead. And in 2018, Nintendo didn't do so much in terms of the actual console, what they've done a lot is they've very much reformed their company in some aspects. They've definitely been trying to modernize more than they have been, because one of the biggest complaints with a lot of Japanese companies is that they don't evolve with the times. And there's a reason for that, because a lot of gaming content now is online and digital. Japan doesn't care about online or digital stuff. It's just not their realm. But I don't know if it's just because of Nintendo trying to evolve with the times. There's also the caveat that the Olympics is coming to Japan soon, and a lot of what Japan's doing with the Olympics is they're trying to brace themselves for foreign tourists and modernizing shit. Because, credit cards aren't very popular in Japan. There's a lot of modern conveniences we have in America that they don't do in Japan as much. So it could be a result of that. But they're definitely trying to progress themselves. But there are some things that are definitely they're lacking. This year in particular, Tatsumi Kimishima stepped down as the president of Nintendo Japan, and he's been replaced by Shuntaro Furukawa, and that's the current president right now. And then going to the American side of things, this happened not that long ago. American president of Nintendo, Reggie Fils-Aimé, is retiring. Now, that's really hard to accept in a lot of ways, because Reggie's been with Nintendo for so long. He's basically the face of Nintendo of America, and he was a very good president, both in terms of presentation. He talked to people. He was an active gamer. He really grabbed your attention, and the fact that he just had a passion for video games and he loved what he did. But there's also things you gotta think about. Like, Reggie's not that old. He's retiring at 58, 57. That's not that old. So it makes you think that he's confident in where Nintendo is, to the point where he's like, all right, I can wrap myself up and finish. So that's a weird thing, because you've just seen Reggie for so long, and he was such a good president. He looked like the child he was at heart, almost, because he just had a very childlike face. And he's going to be replaced by Doug Bowser. Haha, the name. And I'm hoping that guy can have the same screen presence that Reggie Fils-Aimé had. It's going to be very hard to do that. But, yeah, we'll see where that goes. But, so, when you look at it that way, Nintendo doesn't have a face right now. Because, yeah, they've had 2 Japanese presidents in the last couple of years. But both of them were... I mean, the first guy who took over Satoru Iwata was in and out. And this guy hasn't been there long enough to establish himself. Nintendo has no face now, because Reggie was the face of America. And whether you liked Satoru Iwata or Reggie at all, you can't deny they had presence. They had both screen presence, and they had just distinctive looks to them. People knew who they were. So without them, basically the face of Nintendo at this point is Yoshiaki Koizumi, who's basically the guy you see in almost all the Nintendo Directs now. So there's definitely that. That's an unfortunate thing. But they've been doing other things to reform themselves. They changed their YouTube policies, which nobody liked. Now, I'm in the camp that I don't give a shit whether Let's Players get their footage claimed or not. I don't care. But it was in Nintendo's best interest to not do that, because it's free advertising for them. And after the train wreck that was the Wii U's advertising campaign, it would definitely be a good idea to adopt a more progressive approach to it. And thankfully, they have. Now, I've never experienced any issues with Nintendo claiming footage, but I'm also a small channel, so that's probably why. But I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, because recently what was announced was Super Mario Maker 2, which I'm sure will take the internet by storm under the carefree guidelines Nintendo has now, where they're just allowing you to use their footage, which was something big that held them back with the Wii U, because that was a game that lent itself to YouTube. Also this year, despite the fact that there was no Classic edition of a console, there was no Nintendo 64 Classic or a Game Boy Classic, that didn't stop Nintendo from, for the first time, launching their online paid subscription service, which I haven't gotten yet, not because I'm disinterested in getting it, I just haven't gotten around to it. And people aren't happy with it, which I was expecting people not to be happy with it. And it's not so much people aren't happy with paying. There are some people who are against paying. Oh, I didn't pay anything for the Wii U and the Wii. Why is they got to pay now? Those people, they're not gonna understand that in order to improve the infrastructure of a network, you need to you need to have money to improve the infrastructure of the network. And $20 a year is not that bad. The problem is that the connectivity is still not the greatest, and people are really unhappy with the lack of virtual console, the lack of features. The Switch so far has been a very just game-centric device. It just got YouTube this year, which is good, and it has Hulu. Now, people are complaining about Netflix, but you have Netflix on so many devices. It would be nice if the Switch got Netflix, and I'm sure it will at some point, but for now it doesn't. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, and people are not happy with the online service, which I kind of expected. I can't say much with that other than I hope they improve it. I hope they drop their stupid apprehension towards voice chat with online games, because they've adopted it with Fortnite. That was a big thing. Fortnite has voice chat. I wish you could do it with Splatoon 2. Now, I understand Nintendo's apprehension to that because Splatoon 2 is a very kid-friendly game, and you know how little fucking kids are in a headset, but parental controls exist for a reason. So people aren't happy with the online service necessarily, but that's not entirely a deal breaker because this console is still ending up, you know, in a home. And a big thing that I think is going to help with the online service is that there are talks right now, as of the time of recording this video, that Microsoft and Nintendo are planning to cozy up to each other for some sort of collaboration. Now, there's nothing confirmed about this, but it wouldn't surprise me, because the Xbox has never been successful in Japan because it's just a foreign console. They don't like foreign products. And there's this thing in Japan with the number 4 means she, which is also death in Japan, so that doesn't help. There's actually, in Japan, there's a lot of apartments that do not have 4 rooms in them. For that sake, it's just a bad omen, bad luck thing. So when you have a console that only has 4 letters in it, and has X, which is also associated with death, it's not going to sell to a Japanese market on top of just being a foreign entity in general. So I would not be surprised if Microsoft started putting their games out on the Switch in Japan digitally only, or even physically, and if they worked some kind of deal with Nintendo to improve their internet infrastructure here. I don't know what the results of this deal are going to be, if it's even a true thing. It could be internet rumor mill, I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. But it's not beyond comprehension to imagine these two companies working together, because Microsoft and Nintendo have really never been direct competitors. I mean, if you look at the Xbox and the GameCube, that was the only time they were really direct competitors. Past that, the Wii did not try to compete with the 360 and the PS3. And the same goes for the Wii U. And Nintendo's biggest focus in the last, I want to say even decade, maybe more, have been on portables, which is essentially what the Switch is mostly used as. I use it in the dock all the time, but it's mostly used as a portable by a lot of people, which makes sense. Who wouldn't want to take their game on the go with them? And Microsoft has never even attempted a portable console ever. So it's not far-fetched at all that these two entities that don't necessarily compete with each other would try to collaborate on something. They worked together to basically take a shit on Sony after Sony refused to allow crossplay with Fortnite. So it's not at all unreasonable to imagine something happening. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen yet, though. But when you take all of that into consideration, what does that mean for 2019? I think 2019 is actually going to be a really good year for the Switch, because 2018 was the holdover year. It gave us old games galore, and it still managed to captivate people even with these old games, and it managed to show us just what you can do with the Switch beyond just gaming, or just beyond, you know, shitty ports, because you still got Wolfenstein 2, which is a current gen game, obviously downgraded to be on the Switch, but the fact that it's running on the Switch at all is amazing. It doesn't run quite as smoothly as Doom, but it still ran pretty well. This is hilarious. They lost EA. EA said that they weren't going to do anything with the Switch after FIFA 18 failed, which I don't know why they even expected that to sell, but now EA, because of the Switch's success, has come crawling back, and they did FIFA 19, and then you have things like Nintendo Labo, which, yeah, fucking not for me, it's for kids, and it's weird, but it's that kind of weird that people respect. So I really think 2019 is going to be another great year for them, and possibly 2020 will be another holdover year. But they already have a bunch of significant first-party games coming up. Just the other day, they announced Pokemon Sword and Shield. They have Fire Emblem Three Houses coming to the Switch. It's an exclusive. There's the possibility that Metroid Prime 4 will come to the Switch this year. They have the Link's Awakening remake. Bayonetta 3 is probably going to happen. Super Mario Maker 2.
And those are just the first party titles. They still have a lot of third party games coming, like
Assassin's Creed 3 coming. Mortal Kombat 11, which is a current game, is coming to the Switch. Crash Team Racing, they got Resident Evil games coming. On top of they're still having Final Fantasy games come. And those are just the games we know. Nintendo is infamous for just suddenly announcing things with their directs. So it wouldn't shock me at all if we had more announcements coming in a few months. Now going to E3, I hope they stop with the pre-recorded video and just do an actual presentation. But they probably won't. We'll have to see. They probably won't do a real E3 presentation, especially when they don't have a distinguished face to lead the company with on either side. They'll probably improve their online infrastructure. I don't know how much. I wouldn't be surprised if this year a Game Boy Classic was announced at all. I want them to get Netflix, but it's not the end of the world if the Switch doesn't have Netflix, but it would be in their best interest to get it just because Netflix sells more than Hulu. Netflix has more exclusive series to it. It just would be smarter, and it's all going to that digital route that we all know is coming. I also want them to organize the eShop better and maybe improve the Switch's OS, because the Switch's OS is very, very basic, very broad, not much in terms of flair. So I hope they improve that. And also, I just kind of want them to, as weird as it sounds, the thing is a tablet. I want them to embrace the tablet functionality of it, include apps, include like just pointless apps like calendar apps, alarm clock apps. I know those are stupid, but the Switch is a tablet console, basically. And Smash Brothers very much had this idea in mind. It had almost the little Android slide-up bar to bring up a menu to select music. You could do that with the Switch, and I think most people would actually enjoy it. Now, honestly, this year with the Switch, I actually didn't play it that much, but a large part of it was not because I didn't want to. It was just mostly because I was busy and had other things to do and was doing, the games I played for the most part were for the channel. So I did pick up 3 games over the whole course of the year, and the reason for it is also because I own most of what they ported already on other consoles. And there's nothing I loved enough to buy a second time. But I did get Smash Ultimate, obviously. Can't not get that. Really enjoyed it, though I wish I'm not as big on the single-player mode. I wish there were still trophies. I love collecting trophies. But I do absolutely love that you have to unlock everybody. It's a little easy unlocking everybody, but still great. Octopath Traveler, I haven't even played this fucking game yet. I played the demo when it was first out, but I had to get this because it's an old school RPG. I hear nothing but good things, so I hope it's good. And this one, I knew was coming. Sonic Mania, I didn't buy this digitally when it was out last year because I knew it would get a physical release. And it did, and I'm so glad I bought the physical version. And the game is fucking awesome. This is probably... this might be the best Sonic game. So, overall, the 2018 holdover year, 2019, I think will be a good year for them, though. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Switch will kill 2019? I don't know. I think it will, but I don't think we're going to be blown away at E3. I really don't. I would love to be wrong on that, but I don't think we're going to be. But we'll see when that time comes. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.